my first question is what
Yes.
your assessment of current security situation and the contemporary situation in Indonesia? Of course, you can not only cover Indonesia, but also if you like, if you have interest, and you can also cover something about Malaysia and the Philippines, and also Singapore, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhou. First of all, I would like to thank you for organizing this interview. I once traveled to Xinjiang last year. I saw with my own eyes how Chinese government is coordinating de-radicalization and upskilling program for the Uyghurs, and I admire that program because I wish that the Indonesian government could do something like that to the extremists here, but we have very limited resources, as you might know. So about the security landscape, Indonesia's terrorism landscape has been marked by continuing attacks by remnants of the group so-called Mujahidin Indonesia Timur. Mujahidin Indonesia, or in English it would be Eastern Indonesia fighters. It is located in central Sulawesi, central Celebes, neighboring the Philippines to the north. The leader of Mujahidin Indonesia Timur is already terminated, but soon after he was terminated in 2018, he had substituted by his comrade named Ali Kalora. So Indonesia at the moment has ongoing joint operation between Indonesian police and also the armed forces, the TNI, and this joint operation has not stopped because the activities of this group has not been totally deactivated. Although its size has been decapitated, has been very small, but even with small members, they are still able to conduct attacks. So Indonesian terrorism threat is very much affected by global terrorism problem. Indonesian terrorism problem started since its independence, basically, because there are factions in Indonesia who wish that Indonesia is an Islamic state, and most of other factions are more nationalist, so they despise the Islamist tendency. So Indonesia has not entirely solved this conflict. So the Islamist aspiration is marginal, but they often undertook violent expression. However, since the rise of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban in the 80s, Indonesian jihadists found an ally. So Indonesian government at the time, back in the late 90s and early 90s, led by President Suharto, were quite repressive towards the Islamists. However, the result of this repressiveness is that the jihadists tried to make alliance with jihadists from Afghanistan and the Philippines, also Pakistan. So the 80s and 90s saw the first wave of Indonesians becoming foreign fighters in in Afghanistan, and also they traveled to Philippines to have training. And then during the rise of ISIS in 2011, up to 2014, again, Indonesia saw a stream of foreign fighters going to overseas to join combat and to have training. At the moment, I think the Philippines is still the active site for training, paramilitary training for Indonesians. Some of Indonesian, I see that there are 14, up to 14 Indonesians are training in the Philippines for jihadist training. It's a problem in itself because the Philippines Abu Sayyaf group is using this training facility as a fundraising facility, and so it's a business for them to raise funds and to continue the fight. So that we have Mujahidin Indonesia Timur. Another group is called Jemaah Ansarut Daulah, is also an ISIS affiliated group. So overall, Indonesia is looking at somewhere between 85 to 88 groups that are operating. So, but they are all very small. And in terms of attacks, I think we're looking at 20-something attacks every year. The 2018 was the highest in terms of number of attacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is to say, so the current situation is much better, much safer than 2018. Is that true? I mean, current security situation in Indonesia is much safer.
It is much safer today at the moment. I think Indonesian the trend of terrorist attacks in Indonesia sometimes has a surge in particular year.
Yes.
For example, 2004 we saw a surge, and then 2009 we saw a surge. 2000 I think 10, and then 2018 we saw another surge. So this burst of terrorist attacks took place, but then they quickly dissipated